All right, everyone, thank you again for your patience. Before I call the meeting officially to order, I just want to remind us of some procedural things since we're subject to Nevada open meeting law. First of all, in order for us to discuss an item, it has to be on the agenda, so we won't be able to discuss items that are not on the agenda today. And then secondly, regarding public comments, so for any item on the agenda that is up for possible action prior to the vote, I'll be calling for public comment. So typically I'll call for a first and a second for anything voting, then we'll have a discussion among the board members, and then following that discussion prior to the vote, I'll ask if there are any public comments. So with that, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:10 in the afternoon. Mr. Secretary, Landon Millier, will you please call the roll?
It is noted 4:10. All right, so we will do the roll real quickly. Up first, we'll go with John Adunco.
Present.
Dave Bianchi. Debbie Beiersdorf. Christine Brown Gallagher. Joe Klein, Melissa Dedmond,
Here.
Marie-Luz Garcia,
Present.
Lauren Garfinkel, Kendall Inskip,
Present.
Phil Kaiser, Landon Miller, present, Chris Morgan,
Present.
Charles Pasillas, Michelle Sanchez-Bickley, I know she's there.
Michelle, are you joining us via Teams? Did we drop her? You might be muted, Michelle. But I do see her in Teams.
I know we were having some technical issues a moment ago with Michelle, so I know she's there, but do we need the verbal confirmation? All right, we'll come back to Michelle. Eric Sheets,
Present.
Dave Shintani, and Jill Tolles.
She's on her way.
On her way. And Michelle Sanchez-Bickley, if you can hear me again. Maybe something happened. I don't know.
Well, she was logging in and logging back out again. All right, well, I just text her. Let's see if we can't pull her back in. Oh. She said, I'm here, sorry. So she just team messaged.
Does that count as a present then? Or do we need a verbal? I don't know. The text, team's message. If it's in the official record, I think we're okay, right? If it's in the chat, the chat function. All right, I'm gonna count it as she's present.
All right. So Landon, with that, are we short quorum?
We are short one for quorum.
Okay, so with that, since we are able to, I'm going to go ahead and start with agenda item 2.05, since that is for information and discussion only, and hopefully that'll give us enough time to get to the items up for possible action. So presentation, discussion, and update of the structure programs and working groups of the Education Alliance for the 2021-2022 school year, including board member spotlight, to share involvement with the EA, Partner in Ed program, Teachers Warehouse events, principal for a half-day events, and updates from our 3 educational institutions. So starting off, I just wanted to thank the board, and hopefully you received my notes of thanks in the mail. We were successful at achieving our 100% personal board giving. So thank you so much for that. Was really excited to achieve that goal.
And
Kendall,
that total, I just want to share because it's a big total.
please
It's
do.
$33,250 from our board. So every one of our board members donated to that total amount. And so now you will notice on the website, the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada's logo that says 100% Giving Board, which is a huge honor because there's only probably 100 or so nonprofits in Northern Nevada who have that distinction, and there's about 400 active ones. So to be part of that group is a huge honor, and I am so grateful to each and one of you.
Thank you. Let's see, any board or educational alliance business?
I have a brief mention, and it was mentioned, and she gave me permission to share that with you, but we shared it at the exec. But not only is Krista McNeil retiring on June 30th, but Debbie Beiersdorf, our representative from the district, will be retiring on June 30th as well. But she's not able to be here tonight due to personal reasons, but she gave me permission to share that information with you. So that means that we will have a new board representative from the district on our board. Who that will be, I don't know yet, but I'll keep you all posted.
All right, thank you. And following our Ed Alliance business, we have a board spotlight and our mission activity. Eric, I believe you were gonna tell us, you, Eric. Tell us a little about your background and involvement with Education Alliance. We're hoping you'll read our mission statement first,
Sure.
so that we continue to become familiar with our recently adopted statement.
Actually, there we go. So Kendall actually shot me over an email, but I worked on it a little bit and I wrote some things, so I'll be looking at my paper as well. So first off, the mission statement. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mission statement: uniting our community to illuminate and clear pathways for every Washoe County student's brightest future. And I think that's a great mission statement. I applaud everybody that was part of that. I especially I like the illumination and brightest part. Thank you, Brittany, for mentioning that. So kind of getting into why I'm here. The first question is briefly share your background, profession, personal story about your path to support education. So I actually first got into EA back when Denise was hunting around for people, and in particular I was used for the Rotary to talk to young engineering students or students looking into engineering, because I think, as a lot of you might know when you talk to me, I kind of get a glimmer when I start talking about engineering and what can be built around us and how it can change our whole communities, right? And that's exactly what I think is amazing to impart on students. And so in particular, I would actually meet them downtown. This was before the Virginia Street Bridge was rebuilt. I was a part of that project, but it kind of, I was thinking about, well, what can I show them? What do kids know about on engineering, and how can we get them to expand their horizons, right? And so I was like, well, I'm just going to bring them right down in the smack middle of what they, think Reno is. So I brought them down to right in front of City Hall now, and basically I talked about the obvious things, the bridges, the airports, because we had a plane flying over us, periodically. Obviously roadways, the tall buildings and whatnot. And of course, they understand that, but what you don't necessarily see is everything that goes into that. So all the planning, all the other components. Of course, there's finance, there's a lot of government. There's basically, these projects touch every aspect of our whole community. So again, when you look at it and you look at the utilities associated, the water lines getting to you so that you can function during the day. storms, like even the little gutters on the side of the road, there's a huge importance if you're trying to have commerce and just go around and deliver products to folks, right? But basically just trying to get them to see that every little component takes a huge imagination, it takes planning, it takes all kinds of other things, and in order to do that, you got to have a base. You got to have an education which allows you to know that you've explored all these opportunities and alternatives and things that can accurately improve things, as well as substantiate a future, right? If you just start throwing spaghetti against the wall and you hope that a road to nowhere is going to do you something, well, okay, fine, you might have provided jobs, but you missed out on a whole component of allowing businesses to access each other, right? So anyway, as you can tell, I definitely like talking about that. It also helps. I'd bring up my other projects and things I've worked on. For instance, I would show them retrack. I'd show them how that railroad used to be at grade and it was lowered, doing a lot of land development projects where, you do all those components as well. But anyway, LAX, LA Cathedral, all these projects that I could show them on Google Maps, and I think they like that. So I'm hoping that quite a few of those students ended up going into engineering. Haven't tracked them down or stalked them or anything, but that's not my goal. But anyway, that's what I like seeing. Now, how I got into engineering and how I got into that, I think, is also critical with education. So I actually grew up in Truckee. I did construction up there, and we didn't have a lot. We just built homes, and it was just small shop. But basically, one thing that really affected me was we would quite often have folks that were basically homeless out in the forest, and they really had no jobs. They had nothing except we would hire them to come do labor, and they would help us build these, but they couldn't afford housing. They enjoyed camping out there, to be honest, but it was always ridiculous to me that these folks were helping us build stuff, and yet they couldn't have their own housing, So kind of taking those two components, that's why I think education is critical, because basically it allowed the capacity to be able to build, open doors so that folks like this, I'm hoping someday I could help provide housing and, and have efficient use of our resources and talent in our communities where, regulations and all these things that keep those folks from having it can be overcome. And so anyway, that's why I think education is very important, and how I got involved with EA, and you can see my interest in that. So the next question is basically briefly answer 1 to 2 of these questions regarding EA's mission to unite our community to illuminate and clear pathways for every Washoe County student brightest future. Excuse me. So what does the mission mean to you? So obviously the illuminate and clear pathways is an obvious correlation to civil engineering. So that's a given. Again, thank you, Brittany, for that. The unite the community part is where I think EA has the greatest strength. If you guys have also talked with me before, and we've had many years to do this, so I wouldn't be surprised if all of you have heard this, but I always loved the concept how in West Texas everybody gets behind their schools and everybody wants to support Friday night lights and all that stuff. Imagine if we did that for our students on all kinds of components, and I appreciate Chris Morgan's statement on this too. Imagine if we had a point where we could celebrate students that do well in other academics, getting national merits and things like that. And yeah, we do some things, but this is just an opportunity to celebrate. Why not take advantage of it, right? In addition to that, I think it would be awesome to to see how society supports it, because I also think that's where dollars come in and resources and components that we can utilize to assist our schools. And I'll be honest, in marketing, there's babies and bunnies, right? That's an easy sell. We have babies, we can do that, but that's a third of the population. We also have a third of the population that needs numbers, right? That gets me to my other area that I contribute in, which is data, data profile, things like that, P16. And if I'm going to invest in something, and I got this actually from Juniper and Cisco would send me stocks circulars, right? Shareholder annual reports. And basically, if you're going to invest in something, you want to see how it's improving, how things are doing well, and you're picking a winner, right? And so I think it's critical for us to have that data to be able to back up why people want to invest in us. And I think we are. I think there's a lot of politics that goes into that, but that's why it's critical we have an unbiased source that we can look at some of this. Now, some of that's easier said than done. It's hard to get some of that data, but basically, if we want to start pulling in bigger dollars, I think that a big investor is going to want to see that. And unfortunately, there's just so much involved right now. I think with CARES grants and all those things, those are the big dollars. That's where people are anyway. So now is maybe not the right time, not the right door, but I think we still keep working on stuff, and eventually I think if I don't make a whole bunch of money and I need to prove why I want to invest, then there'll be somebody else. But ultimately, that's what I'd like to see. So the next part of that, how have you applied our mission recently? I talked about data profile there and basically why I think that's important. We've also done the white paper, and again, that was hard to find and pull data in spots, but that's the ultimate goal, and that was an umbrella paper basically, but it would allow us to dive in deeper stuff. But again, if I'm investing in something, I want to know what the comparators are, and that's where it's difficult, getting the comparators and getting them to give us information. So anyway, as a last thing, I'm going to continue to support you guys. I'll continue to support the schools in every way I can. I will ask that UNR bring in, before I build them a building or anything like that, they need to bring in at least online law classes. Vegas can get, medical school. We could get a law school up here. But anyway, I'll do that for SC as well. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I appreciate it. Thank you all for all you do.
All right, let's give Eric a round of applause. Thank you so much, Eric. I have to admit that this is probably, this action item is probably the highlight of the meeting for me. I get to learn about my fellow board members and just, hear everybody's passion for why they joined the Education Alliance and how they contribute. So thank you very much. And speaking from experience, don't be surprised if one of those inspiring pieces from your story ends up over there in Brittany's hands to be featured on our media sites. So thank you again. All right. Let's see. Teachers Warehouse events. Kendall, you want to give us an update?
Oh, I'm excited to talk about the Teachers Warehouse 2021. We weren't able to do it last year. This year we had great success. In fact, first thing we want to show you is an incredible video that was produced by Jeff Foss, our videographer. It is an assembly of, amazing partners in education, amazing friends, as well as board of trustee members, encouraging the community to thank educators, thank teachers, and then to donate to the Teachers Warehouse. And this video went out in numerous places. It hit everybody's email inbox. We took it to the Chamber. EDON published it in their newsletters. The Chamber has 2,500 members. And then I think some of it also hit the news. Channel 2 also put it out as well. Thank you to Channel 2, who always shares our stuff, a wonderful media partner. So I wanted to start with this video because it'll get you in the mindset of prepping for our Teachers Warehouse events, and then we'll go into the stats.
Just like friends and family, teachers help us all reach our highest potential, and for that we are forever grateful. So please, come on down to the Teachers Warehouse and donate classroom supplies. Thank you, teachers.
We have something called the Teachers Warehouse, where teachers can get classroom and art supplies that they use throughout the school year for our wonderful students to create the beautiful art that you see behind me.
When you donate new classroom supplies to the Teachers Warehouse, you're not only supporting our teachers, but you're supporting the students.
On behalf of Greater Nevada Credit Union, we want to thank all the teachers in Washoe County School District for helping more students live greater.
And I want to encourage you to donate materials, and also remember that you can pick up materials here that might help you in this really difficult year as educators, try and help you get through this year.
If there's one thing this last year and a half taught us, it's how important our educators are.
Thank you so much for all you do, Washoe County teachers. We really appreciate you.
From the row in downtown Reno, we just want to say thank you to all of our teachers and make sure that you give back.
It takes a village, and an essential part of that village is our wonderful teachers, who continue to show up and educate our future leaders no matter what this crazy world throws at them.
I'm a retired teacher. I know what you're going through. You need to keep up the spirit, and we're all behind you.
Teachers are our community's foundation, helping teach our future community members. Please show your support by donating different teaching materials and art materials to the Teachers Warehouse.
Hey everyone, remember when we were all stuck at home trying to educate our children? The least we can do is donate some pencils or some new classroom materials on Community Donation Day on November 5th.
All right, so following the meeting, we'll have our local celebrities here signing autographs, but until then, Kendall, you want to give us some stats?
Oh, I love it when you all step up and help us to thank our teachers and our educators, because they have been working, and it means the world to them. It hit every teacher's email inbox. So on Friday, November 5th, from 9 to 6, we did Community Donation Day. And we had 10 pallets, value, and I don't know the value of those 10 pallets, but I'll tell you it's probably close to $50,000 in product, new product that was delivered and donated from our partners at McPherson's, Blaisdell's, Office Supplies, Catholic Charities, and so many other donors. We also purchased some of them with a donation from Core Construction. The highest requested items that teachers use, and that was per WEA, as well as the warehouse, the things that go the fastest. And so that place was loaded, and it was beautiful, and we had great volunteers to help us. Melissa rallied some TMCC Nevada Promise students, which we were so grateful. It was over a Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, 4 days of warehouse work, so it's hard work. And then on Wednesday, November 10th, the day before Veterans Day, we hosted Shop Till You Drop for teachers. We estimated 500 attendees. We know that because we had 300 goodie bags for teachers that were all gone in the first 30 minutes. We also have inventory sheets that teachers fill out. It's not, it's not real detailed, but it's an opportunity to survey them, what did you find, what did you need, that's not here, and that sort of thing. And there was about 400 and probably 450 or so. It was definitely 3/4 of a ream of paper that we put out. So that's super exciting. I want to throw out a special thank you to John Adunco. Thank you, John, for being there. And through the whole, that whole party, and handing out and making sure teachers filled out their, and welcoming them. I know Mary Lou's, you also were there helping thank and welcome Melissa. It means a lot. We got music from Rob Deal, who's with GoArmyGuardReno.com. He did all the music. Some of you may recall he was one of the original music providers at the Run for Education. He rode a unicycle. Do you remember him? So he was awesome. That was before it got so huge that he couldn't do it anymore. As well, Manny from DFS, Dean's Future Scholars, came and helped us as well. WEA paid for food. And we wanted to have food trucks, but they were obviously all exhausted because I couldn't get a call back from them. So instead we called our friends at Famous Dave's. Sabina, who has catered our principal Meet Your Match at the chamber before, she, within a day, was able to do sliders and goodies for, and then Grand Canyon University did drinks, all the beverages donated. And then we had about 32 or so raffle gift cards from Reno Loves Local. And also from Blaisdell's, they also donated some of them. So it was just such a great event. I'm so delighted that we were able to do something like that. And the Teachers Warehouse is open not 24/7. Thank you very much. It's open year round. And anyway, that's great news. We did try a new time of the year. Usually we do it during Teacher Appreciation Week, but it's right when teachers are going off track and they're done for the year pretty much in June. So we wanted to do it at the beginning of the school year, but the warehouse folks are so slammed with getting schools set up and ready for school. It wasn't good for them, and they're used to hauling product up and down, rafters and so forth. So we did it in November this year, and I think we had a great turnout. Best turnout we've ever had in all the 5 years I've been hosting it. So I think we'll probably keep it in November. We'll see how that works. Or early December, we'll see how that goes. So I would welcome John and Melissa and Marluz, if you have any comments or feedback as far as streamlining the event. We do try to stagger the product going out for elementary schools who get off like at 3:30 or closer to 4, and then the high school and middle schools start at, they get out earlier. So I think we might change the time a little bit so that they can all get the product at the same time. It's kind of even the playing field. We noticed that shopping carts remained tied up, so we may eliminate shopping carts, instead stick to boxes. But if you have any other kind of logistical input, I'd be grateful. And that's my report on the Teachers Warehouse.
All right, thank you. It was a great event indeed. I enjoyed being part of it on the day of. So let's see. Yes, it was great. It was great. No, and in particular, there was a teacher there, and she kind of waited till the end when we were doing all the raffle prizes, and she said, it's been a rough year, and this really gave me some new energy to go forward, and that's exactly what it's about. So, well done.
That's great.
All right, another fantastic event, Principal for a Half Day.
This is a quickie. All I want to do is tell you that we have the green light from the district and from the chamber on the Principal for a Half Day and the Meet Your Match 2022. I would love for you all to represent and shadow a principal or a board member, perhaps, a trustee. Meet Your Match Wednesday, February 9th at the chamber. They have new digs out by Old Town Mall, which is now Reno Town Mall. And then the Principal for a Day, Thursday, February 10th. And I just got an awesome email from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, saying that Renown would like to be involved this year, but we have some protocols and some protective measures in place at Renown. So we need to discuss where we would host that on their campus. I think we've been in the MAC auditorium, haven't we, Michelle? I don't know if she can hear me.
Yes, sorry, it's just this is echoing so bad, but but we're going to figure out the room.
All right, good. Thank you again, Michelle. Your partnership and Renown's partnership has been huge. You'll hear in a report later. It's not just the in-kind, but it's financial, and we're so grateful for your partnership. That's Principal.
All right. Brittany, any updates on Partners in Ed?
Yes, I do have updates on Partners in Ed. While it has been difficult for educators, the good news is our partners are coming out in full force to support the schools. It's been exceedingly busy with partners this fall semester. We've been working with about 48 WCSD departments and schools on partnerships, and we're tallying up the value of that in-kind and financial. And right now we're at $520,924. Just
And that's
since about
outside of
July.
our events.
Fantastic.
Yeah, outside of events, pure partners. And $450,000 of that is financial. So I just want to tell you guys about some of the standout partners. One of the biggest ones, one of our Pi champions, is Assistance League of Reno Sparks. So they do events like Operation School Bell, Links to Learning, and we help them coordinate the logistics around that, working with the schools. That's to the tune of about $160,000. The Big Reno Coat Drive, we've been working with formally for a couple of years. They're collecting 3,000 new coats for the Children in Transition department, and that's wrapping up just about now. Also, the Row, another Pi champion of ours, they were Healing Through Health sponsor. They donated $45,000 worth of supplies for teachers at the beginning of the school year. And then another big Pi champion, Greater Nevada Credit Union. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Thank you, John. Healing Through Health sponsor, back to school supply drive. They're currently running a community hero special where WCSD employees get $150 for opening an account. $50 donation goes back to EA. We handed all those flyers out at the Teachers Warehouse events. They're going out in Admin Weekly emails. And then also about a $50,000 in-kind donation of hand sanitizer. WEA, another huge standout partner, Healing Through Health sponsor, Teacher Warehouse sponsor, and ongoing work with their WEA reps in the schools around partners. Renown, another Pi champion, Healing Through Health sponsor, $25,000 total donated to their partner schools. That's $5,000 at 5 schools. And then even things as small as working with a donor who wanted to get a piano off to Gomes Elementary School. So we'll work with big and small, it doesn't matter. And as you guys know, it goes both ways. It takes stewardship on the school's part. So Pleasant Valley Elementary School, I wanted to give them a big shout out because they rallied 4 new partners this semester. The CIT, the Children in Transition Department, they've been great stewards of the Big Reno Coat Drive as well as other back to school drives. And then the WCSD Warehouse, helping with all these events, helping with Big Reno Coat Drives, stashing those coats until they can get out to the kids, which is pretty quick turnaround, honestly, and stashing all that hand sanitizer. There were pallets worth of it. And then, of course, our continuous and upcoming Partners in Ed opportunities and recognition. Not all of you know this, but we do have Pi protocol in place. We have a whole Pi guide for the schools, walks them through the process of finding, securing, and maintaining their partners. We have a Pi agreement that outlines the plan for the partnership, an internal checklist for EA staff to formally track and recognize the partners, and we have something pretty exciting that we're going to launch at P4D. It's called the School Mapping Tool for now, but it might have a different name. And you guys will get an update at the next meeting.
Wow, lots going on. Thank
Yes.
you, Brittany. Fantastic.
So this report, we talked about it in exec and at the beginning of the school year, is to provide you all with an update on the things that are happening in the office that aren't around events. It's all about the Partners in Education, kind of the stewardship, the working with the schools and the principals, as well as those partners that reach out. And we have Google Docs right on our website, which is a private website, where they can say, hey, I'm interested, or, you know, who are the partners, and all that information is listed there. But we felt it was pretty important because of the amount of time that we put into that, obviously, outside of our events, to give you that report twice a year, to let you know kind of the financial and our database, which is just started a couple years ago, to track what are the values of these partnerships. And then those partners rise to the top and potentially are nominees for the Pi Champions. It's just a little background on that. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you both. Eric, any updates from the P16 Council?
Not really. Nope. Honestly, we're going to be light through the holidays. So anyway, we'll kick back in January, and I'll check in, but I'll report next meeting on that. We have, what's his name, the new guy? I'm sorry?
From UNR?
No. Joe Ernst, there we go. Yeah, we have him lined up for February, I believe. So
He's the new chief of accountability for the district.
yeah, took over for Ben Hayes after his passing. So anyway, it'll be interesting to hear what he's got going, and he's got a lot on his plate because he's got big shoes to fill.
Of course, yeah. Well, we look forward to hearing more after things ramp up again in the spring, so thank you. And then last but not least, we have updates from our educational institutions, TMCC, UNR, and Washoe County School District. It looks like TMCC, myself, is the only representative today, so I get the floor. It's always hard to narrow down to just a few highlights, but we have a lot going on at the college. Here's some things I want to share with you. This week is the Academic Affairs Council and Board of Regents meeting, and for us on the academic side, this is where we get to take new programs or changes to programs through for approval. So we have a couple of exciting ones up for approval by the Academic Affairs Council. One is a Bachelor of Architecture. This will be a 5-year professional degree focused on designing for the Northern Nevada region, as well as sustainability. So that's been kind of long in the making. We're really proud to be bringing this forward. We are hoping to take advantage of one of the fastest growing fields in the nation right now. We are proposing an Associate of Science in Data Science. This is going to be a blend of programming, technical, mathematical, and statistical skills, where students will query, clean, and explore large data sets. So we're going to be using the tools that are currently used in the profession itself. So student could continue on to a 4-year degree in this discipline, or we will package enough into the associate's level to where they could join the workforce at an entry-level position. We have a couple of skills certificates. These are short-term credentials. One is in sterile processing technician, which will allow for direct employment or for students to apply at the College of Southern Nevada's Associate of Applied Science Surgical Technology program. And then we have a second skills certificate as a veterinary assistant. So this will allow students to sit for the approved veterinary assistant credential, which is sought after in the workforce right now. And then finally, we're undergoing a bit of rebranding of our construction technology degree and certificates under that. The history is such that it used to be kind of a suite of multiple construction-related programs, and those programs since moved to other areas and rebranding, and it kind of left the HVAC program under this single umbrella. And so construction technologies wasn't really fitting anymore of that program, and so we're looking to rename that as air conditioning technology, which we think is a little more indicative of what's going on in that degree. We have some diversity efforts undergoing in the college. We have a faculty-led learning community, which is hosting discussions following readings from the book Tommy Orange's novel, There. So it takes a look at the complexity and contemporary indigenous perspectives, along with history, culture, and stories of trauma and loss among those peoples. And then one of the main features in TMCC's strategic plan is undergraduate research. So this, along with experiential learning, internships, apprenticeships, is a high impact practice. So large scale, it has a really nice impact, positive impact on retention and completion. And towards undergraduate research, our biology faculty hosted the second EcoBlitz. So it was a citizen science event. Students and citizens came to Rancho San Rafael Park and captured, using an app, the park's flora, fauna, and took soil samples. And our faculty plan to continue to do this every semester in the spring and the fall. And so over time, we'll be able to monitor how climate change and other things affect the biotic and the abiotic components of the park. So great event for our citizens as well as our students. So that's some of the things we have going on at TMCC.
Great. Thank you very much, Melissa. That is so fascinating. I love to hear all about the new programs.
All right. So for those who joined a little bit late, we skipped down a few agenda items to 2.05 until we were able to obtain a quorum. So Landon, I believe we have that now?
Yes, we do have a quorum with 9.
All right, so I'm going to jump back up to agenda item 2.01, approval of the minutes of the September 27th, 2021 Ed Alliance Board of Directors meeting. So can I ask for a first and a second to approve the minutes? A motion, first and a second motion to approve the minutes.
A motion for approval, Eric?
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Kendall seconds.
Oh, Kendall and Skip second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the September 27th minutes? All right, hearing none. Are there any public comments?
Kathleen, are there any public comment?
Sorry, not at this time. Brittany, any public comments by email?
Excuse me, Jeffrey Church did give public comment by email.
Not on this item.
Oh, no, not on this item. My apologies.
Not a problem. All right, with that, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of approving the September 27th minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, I believe the motion passes. We'll go to item number 2.02, possible action to approve the Ed Alliance financials for July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion to adopt the financials?
I'll move we adopt the financials.
State your name.
My name is Chris Morgan.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank
Jill
you,
Tolles.
Jill. Jill seconds. And for discussion, Chris, as treasurer, you want to walk us through the financials?
Yep, and there is a bit of a echo here, so forgive me if it sounds weird on your side. That's all. What I thought I'd do is just hit a couple of highlights and then see where your questions are. Just at the summary level, the thing to call out here probably is what we've celebrated a number of times already, but just the work that was done about the distance learning laptop drive and the amount of effort and support that we provided and the community provided to get laptops to the kids. So very nearly $600,000 last year. And we still have a bit left, or had a bit left in there at the end of the fiscal year. But that was a success.
Excuse me, Chris. I just wanted to let you know,
Yep.
since you're pointing that out, there's a little balance. I'm going to buy 3 additional laptops to leave a small balance for the laptops. So that 1221 will be gone.
Terrific. That's why we have it. If we go, let's dig into a couple of these other accounts real quick. Just hit a couple of highlights. If we go to the next slide. Let me get the next slide. So just our breakdown here. I don't know that there was anything that we needed to really highlight from last year here, except just to note that we do have a fair balance within Run for Education, because we haven't done that. One maybe bit of explanation: there was a $2,400 revenue transfer there, negative, and that just so you guys understand, a negative revenue doesn't necessarily make sense, but in this case, what happened is we did receive $7,000 to support the Run for Education. We transferred 9 over to support the aid secretary, leaving out of that a negative amount of $2,412. So it was wasn't really an expenditure, it was more of a transfer, and that's, given the other 7,000 received, it ended up being a negative revenue. That's where that came from. I don't know that there was anything else here I wanted to highlight. Finance team or anyone else, any questions on just where we landed last year for our major account areas? Okay.
I have one comment,
let's go then.
Chris. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Interrupt you. I was waiting.
Yep. No worries. That's why you're there.
I just wanted to point out that under the WCSD accounts, you'll notice on that page, it's on page 3. If you notice that the expenditures, the budget that we're allowed to utilize through the district outside of the salaries and benefits has been $14,781, and we were asked to reduce that by 5% by the leadership, and we did do that. So you'll see when we go into the budget, you'll see that it has been reduced in the area of other professional services to $12,561. So I just wanted to let you know that you're going to see in the budget next up that amount for our general operating has been reduced. The expenditures primarily from the general fund of the district money that they gave us is around, guess what? What did we all need when we were on COVID lockdown? Computers. We had no laptops. Kathleen did not have a laptop. Our desktops were 15 years old, so we did purchase them under that account. So those pieces of property will stay with the district if, for whatever reason. That's it.
So Kendall, you're stealing my thunder here, but we'll keep going. Those you've helped us out on a couple of these future slides here. Awesome. So if we go to the next one. Yeah, so this was where you just mentioned, Kendall, that I think you ended up with a good balance here. We did spend more on supplies than we have previously, and that was due to those laptops. Services we did not use our entire budget, so that was completely covered. But that, yeah, to your point, Kendall, that's where that all happened here. Any questions or thoughts around the Washoe County School District part of the budget?
Sorry about that, Chris. Got ahead of myself.
No. All right, it's foreshadowing. It's good. Okay, let's go to the next one. I just wanted to highlight. There was let me see. I want to show in kind just to highlight what we received in kind, and we covered this a little bit. Yeah. As we just talked about, we received a ton of support in terms of donations to Teachers Warehouse. And then there was a fair amount received from Partners in Education for the pie special. But just 200,000 is a great number, and thanks to the community for that. And we started a bit more of our catering administration, catering fees administration. So we started to see a little bit of that again. If we go to the next one. Tail end of last year, about $1,200, and we will see more of that as we go into this year. Those are the big highlights for where we landed in. I know it seems like half a year ago because it was, but June 30. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, observations from where we ended the last financial year?
Any questions or comments from?
Okay.
None here, Chris. Thank you so much.
You got it. Let's move to the budget. Oh yeah, we can't. Yeah, we got to. Yeah.
Go for it. Do we have any public comment on agenda item 2.02? Not at this time. Brittany, anything via email? Not at this time. All right, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor for approving the...
We need a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion.
Didn't we do that?
It's already
My bad.
first and
I thought we
second.
had the
did it,
motion.
We did. Yeah. Just kick me under the table.
It's that turkey hangover, huh?
More than that.
All right. I guess we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor for approving the 2021-22 budget?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And motion passes.
And just for the record, real quickly as well, Christine was able to make it in at 4:55 p.m.
Awesome. Welcome, Christine. Just in time to go over more financials.
The funnest part.
Indeed. So next on our agenda, item number 2.03, consideration and possible action to approve the Ed Alliance budget 2021-22. Do we have a motion?
Yes, so,
Or you want to discuss first? I think technically we need a motion to
I think so,
discuss.
and motion
Yes.
second.
So moved.
All right, Jill Toll's motion to approve the budget. Do we have a second?
Eric, I'll second.
Thank you, Eric. And Chris, take it away.
okay, so, the budget for 2021 to 22, which we're about halfway through, here's our proposal. The way to read this is, we have a kind of the third column over from the left, the proposed FY 2021-22 budget. That's where we started, but we have a couple things we're funding, or we have funded and have continued to fund separately that we want to call out. So the way we've highlighted that for you is through this transfers column there, where you red and in parentheses means a transfer out of a particular account, and a no parentheses and black means it's going into an account. So we had the EA secretary, want to make that clear. We had some funds we used for Healing Through Health, and then we have the contingency fund for the CPA that we want to call out separately. So ultimately, what you might want to be thinking about or looking at or focusing on here is, we are transferring $15,000 out of our Run for Education monies to move approximately 10.5 of that to fund our EA secretary. We used 5 for Healing Through Health, and I'm not sure I missed this, Kendall. The total didn't quite add up here, so we probably need to go double check where the extra 3 came from. Oh no, that was unrestricted, right? Sorry, so that's not Run for Education. That was from unrestricted. So 3 coming from unrestricted and going into this contingency fund for the CPA. Then we had another 5, approximately 5 coming from administrative, and another 5 from Partners Education to complete the funding for our EA secretary. And the way that was done is just an estimate of the amount of time that was being spent by her in those areas. So given those transfers, you can see we have approximately $40,000 budget for Run for Education this year. $1,300 for our unrestricted donations, 6 for administrative, 5 for Partners Education, 3 for the CPA. We used the 5 for Healing Through Health, and then we're spending $21,000 to fund Kathleen this year. And then the other point that Kendall made here to call out is within our Washoe County School District budget, the general fund was reduced. So we went from 14.7 to 12.5. So the pages behind this really detail where each one of where these budgets will be spent over the past year. I don't know that we want to dig into any of that, but happy to go into detail around any one of these that you'd like to.
Chris, I'd like to point out, this is Kendall, I would, and maybe I'm stealing your thunder again. I hope not. I would
No, never.
I would like to point out that on page 6 and 7 of this budget, we outline kind of the flow-through, and if you recall, we do have flow-through. For example, the laptop drive was a flow-through. We immediately turn around and give it right to the schools or purchase laptops. But one of the items I wanted to show up for you, to point out under Partners in Education budget, is a proposed raise to our EA intern who manages our website extensively, and he works all of 4 hours a week, and I'm sure he works more than that, but our website is a private website, and if you pay for someone to manage a website, make changes, make sure the partners are correct, make sure when we have an event that front page, the links, all of it, the videos, not to mention your beautiful faces on the board page and the donate page, he's worth $13 an hour. He's currently being paid $12 and has been since, I think, April or May. And I would love to propose, it's an additional $200 on top of what we already budgeted for last year. So it's about $2,600.
Actually, he's coming up on 1 year in January.
Okay, great to know. So that is one thing that's on there that we did increase that I put to you for your consideration.
Kendall, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful, and he certainly works so hard. When his internship is over, will it then reduce back down to $12 as an entry level wage for whoever steps into that role again, or will it maintain at $13 an hour?
Great question. We would start them again at the entry level of $12. That's pretty standard for a student worker. And even Bo Oster, who Dallin took his position, he started as a junior in high school. He stayed at $7.25 until I finally realized that he is now a sophomore at UNR, that we need to go up. And I did some research, and the standard wage is $12 an hour. And it's part-time, so there's no benefits other than the standard, part-time benefits. So anyway.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the board? Kathleen, do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
None at this time.
Brittany, anything on email?
No, at this time.
All right, with that, I guess we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor to approve the Education Alliance 2021-2022 budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. We will go to item 2.04, presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve distribution, of the funding raised for the Healing Through Health initiative for elementary schools' need for student physical, nutritional, and social and emotional health support. Kendall, is there a particular motion you're looking for? That's a mouthful.
If we could start with the presentation portion of it on this, I'd be thrilled. Then I can lay out some of the facts and what we're dealing with before we call for a motion, if that's okay with you. It is presentation. Thanks, Marloes. The good news is Healing Through Health, to date, we are at $100,500. And we've done that within less than 4 months. We are still awaiting a pledge as well as additional grants that we have written, and Brittany has written, and I have written, that we won't know till the end of December. So, but at $100,500, pretty good. We usually raise between 110 and 120 for the run in a year's time. So the fact that we've raised this basically since August, I think is tremendous and says a lot about kind of the area that is going to. So as you all know, we between the sponsorships and the grants, the funding is for 3 areas, aligned with our Kids in Motion, which is what we raise money for at the Run, and that is physical education, nutrition education and programs and initiatives, but we added the mental health component, which is mental health resources, and that's for elementary schools because they don't have any funding in their budgets for that. I have been in touch with Catherine Loudon, who's the head of counseling for the school district, oversees 200 plus counselors, and who is helping us to put together, obviously she has to write it, but we can do the outside of it, around the mental health resources. We want to make sure they're vetted, we want to make sure they're what the district is using, and then we want to give those options, a menu of sort, to the principals when they apply for the funding, because they need to be research-based, evidence-based, and shown. And of course, a principal at an elementary school can apply for all 3. But at this point, if every single school, elementary school applies, there are 65 of them in the district, they would qualify for just over $1,500. I'm not sure that every elementary school will do that, but I do think that we should estimate and kind of make our decisions based around the fact that if every single elementary school applies, then that's how much they would get. The application would be not unlike we do for Kids in Motion, but it's simplified. Would offer the menu of choices for the mental health resources. And then also is, again, Google Docs, preloaded. We want to ask principals, and we're working with the Office of School Leadership, which are the area superintendents. We're going to present to them, staff's going to present to them to actually get their, enlist their help with the elementary schools in applying for funding. And we'll say up to $1,500, but I look for your conversation, your dialogue, and your discussion on this is obviously it could be more than $1,500 if we receive applications for less than 65 schools. We want them to, basically tell us in a brief way via Google, we want to keep it real simple, how they plan to spend the money. Are you going to spend, if you had $1,500 or up to $1,500, how will you spend it? And they can spend it on PE, nutrition education, and mental health if they want to, all 3. But that's their amount. We want them to tell us kind of in the front end so that we can report out to our donors. So that's the consideration. Brittany's already sent me a draft of kind of that application. Then we'll have a better idea of what schools are going to apply. But until we have a final dollar amount, we can't really put that on there. But we'd like to start inviting principals to apply this week based on your vote. Jill.
So I'm sure you're familiar with the treasurer's website for the ARP funds, where agencies and individuals can submit their recommendations for, I think it's the Nevada Recovery webpage. And up until October 31st, various groups could put in their requests for how they would spend the money if they were awarded the federal funds, which category it fell into. So there was a drop-down menu and then a text box to be able to elaborate on how they would utilize those funds and why, the justification for why they needed it. Are you thinking that it would be something similar to that, where you would have a web portal that everyone could, clearly go to and submit their requests?
That's exactly what we do, and we would invite those elementary school principals directly. They'd have a personalized link, and then they would be invited in many ways. We're going to invite them in many ways because, of course, their leadership, with principals, you have to let them know it's okay, please apply for this funding. And yes, indeed, it would be drop down, it would be a text box, it would be a check mark on which area, and please give us a little description of. And then at the end of it, then we'd ask for an evaluation report.
Great, thanks.
Great question.
I have a question about this $1,500 amount. So, that would be essentially the minimum, though, depending on how many schools would apply, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then just based on prior experience, I mean, if there's 65 elementary schools in Washoe County, any gauge on how many would be interested at least, or initial interest in this yet? I mean, what have you been hearing?
Great question, Landon. I would base it around the schools that participate in the run. Okay. And we traditionally have had, I think last year we had, or 2 years ago, I keep saying last year, we lost last year. In 2019, did we have 52 to 55 elementary schools who bring students to the run, which makes them eligible for the Kids in Motion grant of 2,000 in the past. And that's how it's been. It's been between 50, 55, although we've worked very hard to get all of them signed up, all elementary schools signed up so that they can be eligible for that $2,000, the Kids in Motion grant. But I think we'll probably have around 50. I'd like to say, we're gonna talk about 65, but I bet you it'll be about 55.
And then you mentioned that the staff will make those presentations to the school principals in order for that to happen?
Actually, it's a OSL, it's Office of School Leadership. They meet.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the area superintendents. That each area superintendent, there's 5 of them. Each of them have 15 or so schools, feeder schools, vertical, that start with elementary all the way up to high school. And it's a great opportunity to have them as leaders, as area superintendents, to encourage those principals in elementary schools to apply. Hey, it's okay. We need you, please. It's just an additional way to encourage principals to apply. Okay. And staff would just present to them.
Right.
I think we're actually making it even easier for them because with Run for Education, you have to bring 20 students to the event paid. So this is really just the application for the principals. And, we've seen these issues across the board at all the schools. Certainly certain schools are more affected than others, but we're making it real simple for them.
And then you mentioned that they're going to be meeting relatively soon then for this to take place?
They meet pretty regularly,
Okay.
yes.
Kendall, I may be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but any thoughts on kind of I think you call it the evaluation report, or I would call it like an outcomes report. What are we going to be looking for there? Because yes, we want to make it easy for the schools to apply, but we also want to, ensure that it's going to affect some kind of positive change. So, plus we can use some of that in our, promotional
Donor
materials.
reports,
Yes.
definitely. What we've done in the past is we've asked for a number of students impacted. We've asked them what programs they used and how many children were involved in each of those programs, because we know, if a principal splits that money up, how are they going to actually allow all, if there's 600 students in a school, we don't know that $1,500 will impact all 600, but we'd like to know how many it did impact. And of course, the principals will choose the students that it will impact, that they'll go through, because they'll be high risk in their multiple tiers of supports, MTSS, systems of support that's in place at schools through our counseling department. As far as the physical education and opportunities that we offer for and have offered through the Kids in Motion, it's usually maybe it's a soccer team, or maybe it's equipment, or it's, in a lot of ways, it's also what they do as a group, which is critical, because that's a bonding and an opportunity. Again, it also builds self-esteem and confidence and so forth. So we're looking for numbers around how many students it impacts. I think we may even have teacher impacts, because some of the mental health resources definitely impact the mental wellness of teachers as well. So I'm going to, and you will see all of this. This is information that you will all have, because I'm going to work with Catherine Loudon very closely to make sure we are speaking the language, we are speaking very articulately with the principals, because this is not my area. I don't know the resources that are that they're utilizing, but I want to make sure it's usable. They know they can use it. They know it's been vetted. They know it's data that we can have afterwards, it's easy for them to gather. Does that answer your question? The goal is also to, once we have your approval, we would love to, and we have an opportunity in January, if there's assemblies, an opportunity for school assemblies. There's no assemblies in schools right now, but maybe we do it outside. We pick a school, one of our top schools. When I say top schools, I mean principals that are very active in the Partner in Ed program and then very, you've seen them on our videos and so forth, where we can actually do a check presentation. We invite all our donors to come. We invite the media to come. We did that with Gomes Elementary School a few years back, got a lot of coverage. Andy did that one, I think, and did an incredible job. We can do a press release. We can get some quotes. We can get our donors there so that they can meet and see their beneficiaries. And that's critical for us to be able to show our beneficiaries and report out on exactly how the money was spent.
So then it sounds like we have like a relatively quick deadline for this then, correct?
We are hoping to get the word out to the principals, the preliminary word out to principals this week, with your approval, and have a deadline right before the holidays, so we can disperse the money in early January. Because we want to get them the funding as soon as possible. Yeah.
Kendall, when they apply for the grant, how many of them maximize the $1,500 or whatever number we put it at? Or do they have a budget and then they work to that budget? So for instance, $1,200 versus $1,500.
We'll tell them that they have up to $1,500. When we received a grant from a private foundation, the O'Neill Family Foundation, remember we had we had $10,000, and we had select bubble schools and elementary schools, and we actually gave it to 12 schools. We told those 10 schools those teachers they had up to $1,000, and so several of them only applied for $800. So it actually bumped up the numbers that we could offer. So I think that if we ask, if we provide it for up to 15, I'd welcome your conversation around it. Do we need to actually put the number on there on our motion, or do we say just divide it equally among the schools that apply, which may change that dollar amount?
So my thinking on this is I like seeing competitive applications, where people have actually put in time and thought and they want something, they just don't know, they just don't think it's free money for putting their name on something. So I actually like there being a little shortfall, if you will. I don't, that's not the proper term, but you know what I mean. But anyway, I'm actually suggesting maybe we do 2,000. And if I work the numbers backwards, so that's 48.75 if everybody allocates the full 2,000. Now my guess is people would do less than that in some scenarios. If we did 1772, that would be the 55 schools that you were mentioning. If 52, obviously it'd be a little higher. I think 2,000 actually gives us enough to support a lot of programs. And if the other money comes in, it's just even more reason to say, hey, look, we're putting it towards the schools. It gives us more capabilities later on. So I would suggest 2,000 just from those numbers.
And I like the idea of the 2,000 because that's in line with our Kids in Motion. However, that's a jump from $100,500 to $130,000.
Right. I would not up that budget. I would leave the budget at that, and there's a limited number that can be accepted then.
Oh, I see. So in other words, we don't evaluate it based on 65 schools. We evaluate it on up to the numbers. Right. So then we would have to turn schools away?
If people don't have proper applications, they could always come. We could ask the board if we want to support more at that point. But it's going to make people put a serious application in.
And just to chime in a little bit, I agree, Eric, with what you're saying too. However, from a logistical standpoint on that, I think it's important to keep in mind if that's something that we were to do, we would have to have some sort of team established on our end to actually go through each of the applications and create some sort of rubric, I guess, on our end to make sure that we're evaluating them to some sort of standard as well. So I understand what you're saying there. However, I do feel that there might be more of a logistical issue, considering too that we're trying to do something in theory by the end of the holidays. And I think the school district goes to break on what, the 17th? For okay. Yeah, so I mean I totally get that, but I think that there's a little bit more work on our end too, to sort through 40, 45 applications and then, or 50 or more, and say, okay, this is the one that we want, this is the ones we don't, what makes this school better, this one doesn't. So that's just my thought on that.
And I think, Landon, you sat on that committee for the O'Neill Family Foundation where we had a rubric
Right.
and we had to.
And that was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that it was like that challenging of a thing, but it did require, it required a lot of time in terms of going through the applications, and then we all had to meet, and then we were sitting and discussing those applications for several hours one afternoon, and then after that we still weren't at a point, so then we had to do it a little bit of virtually before we were able to actually narrow it down. So it was just something that took a lot more thought than what we originally anticipated, and obviously it was worth it, but it was something that we didn't really think of initially.
I'd also like to say that this is the first time we're giving vetted resources for the schools to pick from in terms of the mental health. I think as far as the physical and the nutritional education will be similar to what we've done in the past. So they're not going to be going rogue with the money, you know what I mean? It's all going to be a little more controlled than ever. And I'm just thinking students have been suffering with some of these issues for so long. We want to help them ASAP, you know?
Any other questions or comments? Kendall, are you looking for a particular motion then?
And I think what we can do is, we still have 9 for quorum. Just for the record, Mary Luz Garcia left at 5:08. But with that, we still have 9 people in here, both physically and virtually, correct? So we can do the motion if that's something that we choose to do. And so I will propose to make a motion through the Healing Through Health to do the first way where we're discussing divided equally amongst the students, or I'm sorry, amongst the schools that apply between whenever they first get word and the end of this semester. So that'd be December 17th. But obviously we can discuss that more if we need to.
I would just say I appreciate the discussion and the, considering the different options. And I do agree that time is of the essence, and it is still a beneficial way to go with the original proposal. I would favor that one.
I have to tell you that Michelle sent a message in chat that she had to hop off. I've asked her to come back on for the vote. Okay. She said, I support the recommendation, but I don't know that that's an adequate vote during the vote. So I've asked her to jump back on, but I wouldn't want to not comply with the quorum for the vote.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we should probably either wait and see if she will come back, or we might have to.
Yeah, we may have to delay the vote.
We might have to delay the vote on that.
Is it possible to call Mary Luz? Just have a call?
That's what I was thinking too.
So I do agree, at least we should vote on moving it.
So Landon, for the record, do you want to just re-articulate the motion, because we're still looking for a second. So while we're trying to get Mary Luz or Michelle on the line, we can make record of what it is we
Of what we actually want to do.
Yeah.
So it would be to approve the Healing Through Health total amount raised to be divided equally amongst schools that apply during December 1st through December 17th. So that's about a 2.5 week, or a little bit more than 2.5 weeks. So almost 3 weeks. I guess it would be this week after they meet until the end of the semester, which would be December 17th, right before Christmas. So for the schools that apply.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jill Tolles will second. And we'll try to get Mary Lou's or Michelle on the line for a vote. And we can re-articulate the motion to them.
So Michelle is en route somewhere. She cannot jump back on, but she's wondering if she can put it in the chat, her vote. Is that?
That's like a full-on pandemic, like, gray area, right?
Yeah.
I think the problem is having a record of it, and I don't know if I can get the chat record in the, possibly, but I'm not sure in Teams.
So if she called in and I put her on speaker, that wouldn't work either, huh?
I think that might work, but it'd be on the record.
Okay.
Just want to make sure she states her full name.
Okay.
Thank you.
Her vote.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just noticed that Teams message.
Any luck with Mary Lou's? While we're trying to get a hold of board members, Kathleen, do we have any public comment on this item? Brittany, anything via email?
None at this time.
All right, that used about 10 seconds, if that.
What was the Jeff Church email about?
That's under public comment at the end of the meeting.
Got it. Okay. I'm gonna need, I need to get going. I can probably dial in from my phone for a little while longer. But I know we're at a dicey moment here.
Kendall, I understand that we want to do this today, but our next meeting is January 24th. If this was put back a month and a half or 2 months back, how much issues do you see that being? I mean, obviously we want the money in the hands as soon as we can, but what's another 2 months after 24 of dealing with pandemic stuff is something worth considering at this point.
Great comment. I'm thinking, at the very least, we can't vote on anything today. We just have to table it.
Okay.
Can
you
I ask a question?
continue
Can we
to
do a
work
special
through-
meeting? Can we call a special meeting for one item only that would be sooner?
Mm-hmm. We certainly could. Absolutely, we could.
I would be amenable to that, and I think there would also be the added benefit of knowing exactly how many dollars we have.
Okay.
And we could potentially revisit Eric's suggestion of raising the amount that we give, because we may have the amount to be able to raise it to a higher level to distribute to the schools. And so I could see that could potentially be a win-win.
Agreed. And we could do that right after the holidays. And we would have pretty much all the dollars in hand, because the last grants are end of December. And then also, should we then move ahead internally with just the request? We have funding and not isolate an amount, and to see what the interest might be in applying, or is that doing our work twice?
No, go ahead. I'm thinking.
I think we could treat it like a save the date invitation, essentially. We will be announcing shortly that we have funds set aside for these 3 categories. And we will be setting up a portal with individual links to all the principals. In the meantime, here's what we would like you to begin drafting in terms of what your request is, how you will utilize it, how it fits into one of these 3 categories. And that can give them something to be thinking about over the holiday. And then preferably we would meet at the beginning, first or at the latest second week of January to take that special, special meeting 1-item vote. And then we can open up the portal and hopefully have a great report by our January 24th meeting.
I would agree with that. And is there any issues from a legality standpoint being able to create a special meeting, or does that just go through the same process that we do for a regular board meeting?
We would have to definitely give 10 days notice. We would need to go through the normal public notification.
That may be a blessing in disguise, though. I mean, just
Yeah.
The end of the semester is a tough time for schools. Things are busy. We're heading into the second set of holidays. This might give them a little bit more time to put together a more thoughtful proposal and, address some of the issues that Eric brought up, about really having a competitive proposal, even though our plans are to disperse evenly at this point. So this might actually work out.
And I also think that we can certainly, like Jill said, we can, request who's interested, and find out a little bit about from principals if they would, how they would use it and that they're interested.
Right, and I think to Eric's comment as well, if for whatever reason we only get X amount of schools who indicate they're interested in applying for the grant, that could expand the grant amount slightly. If we get lower interest, for instance, I don't anticipate we would get low interest, but if there was a way to expand the individual grant award, I think that will hopefully make more of an impact and maybe expand those menu choices a little bit further.
Kendall, do you have enough information to create that kind of engagement without the dollar amount or any of those kind of items?
I think so, because of our established reputation with principals and leaders.
Okay.
It's always nice to put the dollar amount there, but we can maybe even say it's a range of between, we know it's a range of 1,500 to maybe it's 2,000, which is in alignment with our Kids in Motion grant funding. So yeah, I believe that.
Okay.
So at this point, does a different motion need to be made on this item, or in terms of my original motion that was seconded? So at this point, it's just tabled for the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like it.
Tabled for a special meeting.
Okay.
All right. So with the tabling, we have already addressed item 2.05. We will go to item 3.01, public comment. Kathleen, do we have any public comment in person? Brittany, any public comment via email?
No, there is public comment at the last closing item. It's from Jeffrey Church, and it was emailed to all of you with the agenda.
Okay, thank you. It looks like our next regularly scheduled meeting will be January 24th, 2022, but keep your eyes and ears peeled for a special meeting to vote on our tabled agenda item. So with that, we will move to item 3.03 to adjourn the meeting. Do we have to seek a motion for that? No?
No, we don't, but we want to invite everyone to enjoy some wonderful snacks, some homemade candy that Brittany and I made just for each of you to try. It's called Thank You Toffee.
Thank you, Toffee. I love it. Well, wonderful. All right, it looks like we will adjourn the meeting then at 5:39. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, do I get to use the gavel?
Yes.
Nice. Wow, that was great.
Power.